Picture it. 1982. Brooklyn, New York. Little neighborhood called Canarsie. Set back in its ways because it was an Italian neighborhood and we were probably 3 or 4 decades behind. We had stores that sold those green colored vacuum cleaners. We still had soda trucks that would stop by people's houses and drop off glass bottles of soda. And if you ever been to a seafood market back in the day, you would walk in, live fish in the tanks, sawdust all over the floor. I can still smell it to this day. I know what does this have to do with ghosts? But I just wanted to set that little bit of an atmosphere for you, right? This is the times that it was, right? Think a Bronx Tale. That is the best way I can describe my neighborhood back then in the early 80s. We had the social clubs, people knew people, they did things that they shouldn't have done, stories for another topic. But it was Christmas Eve time. It was the first Christmas Eve without my grandmother. She had passed away over the summertime, and we were all over at her brother's house, my Uncle Nicky. Rest in peace for him as well. And if you know something about Italian families, or if you've seen the memes on social media, there's at least 20 or 30 people that are there, right? And this is no different. 20 or 30 people that are there. My parents are there. Everybody does the midnight mass, or right before the midnight mass, phone call comes into the house, and it's for my dad. And our neighbor was over at our house dog sitting. Now, I don't know why he was dog sitting at the time. Just don't know. We always left the dog home alone. But this time, for some reason, we had a dog sitter. My dad rushed out of the house. Had no clue why until he came back, and then we heard the story. And the story basically was that the person that was watching our dog said that the dog went into the kitchen under my grandmother's old room, because we actually lived with my grandparents at that time, and he started howling. Freaked him out a little bit, couldn't get the dog to calm down, and then all of a sudden he just heard this clicking sound, like somebody was snapping their fingers coming from the other side of the house. So he went to investigate what that clicking was, and as he went from the kitchen into the living room, the sound got louder. And in the living room, if you turned a corner, there was a stairway that went up to the second floor, and that's where the sound was coming from. So he went to go upstairs to see what was going on. And as soon as he put his foot on the bottom step, chills went through his body. And I don't know if anybody's ever kind of encountered a spirit or anything like that, but it's a like a dead cold that you've never felt before, and it just hits you. It's like a wall, right, of absolute coldness. It's not all around you, it's just in certain spots. And this is what happened to him. So he put his foot on the step, he felt that coldness hit him, he got goosebumps, and when he looked upstairs, he saw a shadow of a person walk out to the top of the steps. And it slowly started to glide down the steps towards him. And he got scared, left my dog there, and he went back to his house and he called my dad. So kudos to him, I guess, for getting scared about a ghost and leaving the dog to deal with the ghost, who's already freaking out. Now, the story doesn't end there. So my parents had a week or 2 weeks later experienced something very similar, where they were, for some reason, my grandfather moved out. They moved into my grandparents' old room. Yes, I don't know why somebody would do that, because they didn't change anything, right? They left all the artifacts that my grandmother had in that room. They didn't really change anything. And one morning they woke up and they saw a black shadow standing at the foot of the bed, just staring at them. And yeah, that kind of freaked them out. I don't know what they did because they never explained what happened afterwards. But I had eventually seen it because I was in the neighboring room. And one morning, when I had woken up, I had saw what almost looked like a funeral procession leaving my grandmother's room. It was that same black shadow that I heard about, and it was walking out the room with its hands, one over the other, fist over fist, just slowly gliding out of that room and towards the top of the steps where my neighbor had seen that spirit. And I, wiped my eyes. It's like maybe I'm not awake, maybe it's a dream. And the light in the hallway start to flicker on and off. And I'm not going to boast here. I didn't freak out, but I went to go see what it was. So I jumped out of bed, ran towards the foot of the steps. It wasn't there, but the lights kept flickering. I did go halfway down those steps to see if something was there or if I could hear something, but whatever it was gone. Now, that was the first and only time that I had seen it. My parents had seen it again in a similar fashion to my neighbor, where they were downstairs and they heard the clicking as well. But my mom's sister eventually also experienced it in a different part of New York. She was in upstate New York by Poughkeepsie, and she had some similar experiences. After it stopped haunting our house, it showed up there, and it would walk the halls of the apartment building that she was living in, and it would stop in front of her door. Now, the reason why it stopped coming to our house is because my mom reached out to a priest. Priest came out, blessed the house, never ever saw it again. And you watch some of those paranormal videos on TV today about the shadow people. Yeah, well, I can tell you that it's real because I've seen it with my own eyes, even though I was very young at the time. I've heard the stories of it, and it's just weird just to see something just all in black, just moving through the house, just kind of just gliding through the house, not, walking like a normal person. It's just weird. And I don't know why it showed up after my grandmother had passed away. She was religious, but I just never knew, never found out to this day, what prompted this to show up after she passed away several months later. And then why, when it left our place and went to my aunt's house and started there. So that's one of my ghost stories. And it's, yeah, that's it. That's what I got. So I'm hoping that everybody's enjoying our paranormal month, and we'll have several more of these videos that'll show up on DonnaJean's Shot of Espresso. So be sure to tune in and check that out. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, hey, please go hit that subscribe button. Please give us a like on this video and the other content that we have coming out. And until the next, see ya.